Yo, guys from KRANIUS here. As promised, it's the next chapter. And the next chapter is Turn to Stone. This is the title track, Into the Light, that kicked off the album. Very much an instrumental. This is where I started toying with the ideas of ambient stuff. Yeah, it's quite cool at the time because I started messing with effects, all sorts of stuff for this album. Tried broadening my horizons a little bit musically, and I think there was a bit of a blues edge to this album as well. Interesting. Like I said before, it's all about mood, it's all about being ambient. So anyway, that was the title track, Into the Light. Very short, very sweet. And then it moved very swiftly, or I should say swiftly, but very calmly, into the next track, which was Stand. Yeah. Yeah, so many memories from this album, celebrating 24 years I think since I released this album. Wow, long time ago. So it was just slightly after I'd released What I Am. Yeah, it was an interesting album. I was doing a lot of experimenting round about them with different sounds. I think you can tell by the sound of this as well. There was a lot of Metallica influence, sort of the Load era and the grunge thing going on. I remember using a lot of the effects on the Digital 8 track more heavily, guitar sound wise, so it had a bit of a different sound. Wasn't the best. Drum machines again. So I was doing that kind of thing with the drum machines, putting all the patterns. So I was still doing it pretty old school by then. But I do remember this song being a bit of a kick-ass riff at the time. Then I came up with it, and it was all about taking a stand for what you believe in. Yeah. Funny when you hear back these things now. But yeah, it was literally about taking a stand for what you believe in. I think that's a running theme with a lot of KRANIUS tunes. Solo time. It's weird listening to these things now because I think to myself, how did I come up with some of this stuff? But it just had a good groove to this song. A lot of movement. Tended to be quite a running theme with this album. There was a lot of movement into different things, bringing it back round to the original riffs. But yeah, this was just a kick-ass, get into the mood kind of song. Listening back to the production wasn't the best back then, to be honest. But still, it was all about getting the songs down, getting the mood, getting the feel. And when you do things on your own and you're a one-man band, you've got to use what you've got at the time. But yeah, I mean, you can hear quite a lot of heavy Metallica influence in this as well, I would say. Lots of different moods within the song. I think the main thing as well when I'd written this song, it was just the whole trying to get straight to the point, still learning my craft, trying to still understand what I was doing. I think I kind of based a lot of stuff vocally and chorus based with a lot of these songs as well. I was trying to put a bit of a slant on just the chug 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 kind of thing and just going hell for leather. I wanted it to have a bit of a, I suppose, a listenable kind of song, if that makes sense. So there was something in it, chorus based. I think that kind of came from when I was doing the What I Am album as well. When I was doing that on the EP, I could tell that I needed some kind of meat to what I was doing, and I think melodies and choruses have always been a big thing for me, especially, you know, to try and shape a song. You need some content in there. Again, production value is something to kind of be sniffed at, I suppose. But it was my first album, first attempt. And I think on this track, this album as well, there was like 9 tracks. I was kind of pushing myself to do quite a lot on this album, and push how far I could go. And I think I did well on this album, because you'll find out on the rest of the songs, there's about, when I was listening back again, there's about 3-4 songs on this album that actually became quite iconic. Songs that I used to play live because they sounded so good in their sort of choruses and the way that they were catchiness, if that makes sense. So, barring the production value on this album, it did breed quite a lot of value in the songs, if that makes sense. So it kind of brought me into the light of writing and production then, on this album, if I remember rightly. A lot of sleepless nights sitting up getting riffs together, a lot of programming. So yeah, it was kind of a big adventure for me then. I suppose it kind of, this really set the cement for when I was starting to write more and more albums then, more tracks, because it felt like it was doable. It felt like it was achievable, if that makes sense, that I could actually do an album of like 8-9 songs, complete with vocals, lead, lyrics, all the rest of it, and do it all myself. It was like a big pat on the back. Might not have been the best album, but then, like I say, it did breed a lot of good tunes on here, which again I'll talk about each one's, and try and cast my mind back to how these other songs came about. But this track was just want to write a good track. It doesn't have to mean anything, doesn't have to be anything, just go with the groove, go with where it was going. The rest of the other songs, I'd probably say there was more meaning to those, so they could get quite deep. So it didn't lose that element, this album, of being retrospective, of, you know, covering a lot of things that were going on at the time, or things within, you know, myself that I was seeing and observing. So it's an interesting album, and again, this was the song that kicked it off. Stand. And again, don't forget, if you ever want to listen to these, KRANIUS.com or KRANIUS.bandcamp.com, all the albums are available on there if you want to have a listen to them. And again, get your own interpretations of what these songs make you feel. Again, I think the value is in there. They may not sound the best on these ones, but again, everyone's got to learn their craft. But it was an exciting time recording it, because it was like I had the will, the skill, and the equipment to start doing something, you know, that most people probably would dream about doing. So yeah, let's have a bit more of the track. I think as well, from a songwriter's point of view, I was getting more into drums as well, because I could play drums. So it was like, how would this sound? How would this come about if I was a drummer? How would I play these things? So I started to really get into depth of thinking about how each instrument is doing its thing. So I had to put those hats on and become those different parts of the band: the guitarist, the lead player, the vocalist, the singer, the drummer, the song arranger. So I was kind of learning my skill, my craft on the fly, if that makes sense. So, and back then there wasn't a lot of things to tell you, you know, like you got the internet now, you can find things out. So you kind of, I don't know, using your ears more then, using your sense of what works, what doesn't work, and just going off your own sense of what you think is good, I suppose. Now it's a little bit easier because you can just pull things off the internet and find out how to do something, and you know, how to do compression effects, this, that, and how to do these things to make things more real. But again, they're just additional things that make things a bit more production value orientated, but you still need some kind of core of a skill there. Yeah, anyway, I ain't gonna waffle anymore. This was just the start of probably one of the key albums that got me into doing what I was doing. So even though it's there and it exists, it was important because it set the way and paved the way for the rest of the KRANIUS albums to come. But yeah, the next installment, and it's going to be the next track on the album, that's going to be Look Inside. Again, you'll probably feel like there's a bit more of a bluesy kind of thing going on with these tracks. And again, I think the influence at the time was probably what Metallica were doing with Load and a lot of grunge bands and things like that. So more laid back, more rhythmic, more, you know, just getting with the groove and things with this album. A bit more chorus orientated, something to sing along to, and a lot, like I say, a lot of the other tracks will display that. Anyway, I'm waffling. I'm gonna get out of here, and I'll see you on the next one. Stay well, stay safe, stay metal, and I shall see you on the flip side. Take it easy. Ciao for now.